Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Arrow episode 20 video. Whole bunch of stuff they're setting up. I think they're seeding some stuff for season 5 too, so I'll try to talk about that. But just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. Surprising number of comic book Easter eggs, but I'm wondering if they're setting up the question for next season, because if I haven't talked about it in a video before, they announced like a big villain they're casting for season 5. They gave a fake name, but they gave a description that could end up being the Vic Sage question character. It just seems like they've been referencing Hub City on all the different shows multiple times, so it feels like they're just setting something up there. But Arrow has mentioned a whole bunch of other fictional cities from the DC universe like Bloodhaven, Opal City, so it could just be a coincidence, but here we go. We'll do top 5 WTF and I'll explain Easter eggs as we go along. I know there were some questions about what's going on with Willa at the end of the episode. That's all part of the Easter eggs. There's some comic book stuff going on with that storyline, but it's a little bit different from the way it happened in the comics. So number 5 WTF, Damien Darhk comes roaring back with a vengeance. Just kills off half the hive that he's been working with. Anybody else got a problem with that? Makes a joke about Merlin's hand. Thank you very much. One of the things that Neil McDonough, the guy that's playing Damien Darhk, does really well is really snappy, funny dialogue like this that normally, like if you were to give it to a lesser actor, it would just sound so ham-fisted, but he pulls it off so well. Obviously, I think we all expect Oliver to defeat him in the finale, especially after what happened in this week's episode, but I don't know that they would try to kill him off in a permanent way. Usually they try to leave some backdoor explainer in case they want to bring him back in the future. Deathstroke is the best example of that. There's always the conversation about unkillable villains because it's like, how do you give your hero a really definitive win without being able to take the villain down permanently? Well, if you're a comic book lover, you probably just learned to accept that things come back all the time. Different writers come on, we've had the Lazarus Pit. A lot of it has to do with contractual stuff behind the scenes and the internal logic of the show. So there's a lot of hand-waving and logic gaps that you just hope it all works out at the end. It's the same deal on The Flash. They have a really good setup, a really good pitch, but the hard part is sticking the landing at the end of the season, like paying off the big thing that you were setting up. But number 4 WTF, we finally catch up with Lila. She's on a moving transport safe house, which I thought was a pretty cool reveal. And reference Belly Burger again. We haven't seen Belly Burger in a while on the show. The first couple seasons, especially the first season of The Flash, every chance they got, there was Belly Burger. Like they even had the Belly Burger set in Arrow season 1, which I think they turned into the set that they used for Oliver's office, but I don't know, they change the sets every once in a while. But number 3 WTF, speaking of The Office, Alex takes Thea on vacation, which seems kind of weird to do when they're in lockdown mode, but logic, whatever. She wakes up, totally sounds like she's been roofied, and starts to pick up that she's inside the Truman Show. So later in the episode, like the big reveal is that she's in a secret city underneath Star City that they're just going to use to house all the people that they wanted to survive this big nuclear holocaust that they're going to pull off. They might wind up calling this city Monument Point because Monument Point in the comics, Mark Guggenheim, the showrunner for Arrow, wrote this big Justice Society arc. It was pre-Flashpoint, I think, when DC rebooted their universe. They've done it a couple times since then. And Monument Point is the big city where the Justice Society battles the villain. It ends up getting destroyed, but Jay Garrick later becomes the mayor. They help rebuild it. It turns into this wonderful place again. So there is a genesis of sorts. The title of this episode is Genesis, so the arc might wind up being Monument Point from the city, metaphorically. Obviously, they're changing the comic book storyline quite a bit. It is one of the few stories in the DC universe where a giant city gets destroyed, then rebuilt bigger and better than ever. We still don't know how Alex is involved, only that he's been taking those crazy roofie pills that Ruve Adams has been giving him, Damien Darhk's wife. Sure, why don't you take these mystery pills? They're vitamins, they'll totally make you feel better. This is so funny, it's almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'm still expecting some kind of Alex reveal. Either he's in on it or he's important for some other reason. We've never heard his last name, we only know his name is Alex. I give my number 2 to Oliver learning how to channel dark magic. One of the things that I like about this is that they're finally getting to the point where Oliver's learning about magic. They should have done it a long time ago, and it's all making sense now. He had to see how things went bad with the idol in the past to know how to try and avoid that landmine in the future. So Oliver has to find a way to not be Sad Affleck. He is effectively going to have magical powers, but the real magic in this episode was Diggle. This was really more Diggle's episode than it was Oliver's episode, even though the Oliver stuff was a really big plot point. So you look at all the storylines and you think about what's going on with Oliver, then you think about how Diggle's dealing with his darkness, like he is slowly slipping into a darker place as Oliver's going to a lighter place. The title of the finale is Schism, so I'll let you think about that. But we got some of the best Diggle scenes from any season of the show in this. My new favorite serious Diggle scene was with Lila at the end of the episode where he was explaining how he killed Andy. But on the flip side of that, I do have to say that Andy was just way too over the top. Like, you could definitely tell that they were trying to make him seem irredeemable, as if the writer of the episode wanted to make it seem like Diggle was justified in killing him. I felt like it would have been better if it was more ambiguous. But the way the actor played it, especially that final scene, made it seem like he was actually taking crazy pills. Like Damien Darhk had ordered him to get Diggle to kill him. Like, make your brother kill you. That's the only way his performance in that scene makes sense to me. But you guys can let me know, like, what was your favorite moment from the episode? And do you think all this Hub City stuff is leading to the question? But just to explain the Nexus stuff, so they said there is a magical Nexus inside Star City, which, surprise, surprise, is probably somewhere close to that secret city. There's a Nexus on Lian Yu, so they're just these magical places that exist outside of our dimension. They haven't fully explained it yet, but as you probably guessed, we will visit the Nexus in Star City. It will probably be involved in the big final battle. There are a couple other Easter eggs that I haven't mentioned yet. The Fern came back. Usually the Fern is mentioned at least once per season. If you remember, there was a Fern between seasons when Oliver was living in the old Arrow Cave. It's a very Oliver Felicity specific Easter egg. But totally love the John Constantine shout out. They're keeping him in the universe even if he is physically not able to visit the universe because he's off doing some other TV show. When the actor can come back, I think he'll come back. So hopefully he'll come back next season. I'd love to see him on Legends of Tomorrow too, but they haven't really said anything about the plot of that next year. There was also an Anarchy name drop. I know he's coming back again before the end of the season, but I don't know which episode. It might be Monument Point, which is next week's episode. And I think that Felicity's father is also coming back. The Calculator is coming back for next week's episode. And you may have recognized Felicity's take from season 2 when she took down Ravager. Weapon of choice, the Arrowmobile. If you guys haven't seen it yet, you can click here to learn all about Avengers Infinity War. They're going to be changing the title, so I just listed my top 10 favorites. I'm also doing a Captain America Civil War giveaway, and you can click here for last night's episode of The Flash. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.